In the quiet, sun-drenched streets of Key West, Florida, there's a story that has been whispered for over a century, a story about a doll named Robert. This isn't just any doll. It's a doll that has inspired fear, curiosity, and countless sleepless nights. To this day, Robert sits in a glass case at the Fort East Martello Museum, his eerie presence drawing visitors from around the world. But how did this innocent-looking toy become one of the most infamous haunted objects in history? Let me tell you the story. It all began in the early 1900s. Robert Eugene Otto, a young boy from a wealthy family, lived in a grand Victorian house on Eaton Street. Gene, as he was called, was a creative and imaginative child. For his birthday, a servant gifted him a doll. The doll was life-sized, with a stuffed body, glass eyes, and a face that seemed almost too human. Gene named the doll Robert, after himself, and the two became inseparable. At first, Robert was just a toy, but soon, strange things began to happen. Gene's parents would hear their son talking in his room, but when they entered, they'd find him silent. It wasn't Gene's voice they heard, it was Robert's. The doll seemed to speak on its own, his voice low and guttural. Gene would blame Robert for all sorts of mischief, broken furniture, overturned chairs, and even the occasional shattered window. Robert did it, Gene would say, his face serious, and his parents, though skeptical, couldn't explain the chaos. Neighbors claimed to see Robert moving from window to window when no one was home. Others swore they heard laughter coming from the house, laughter that didn't sound like a child's. The Otto family grew uneasy. They tried to lock Robert away in the attic, but Gene would always find him and bring him back. It was as if the doll had a will of his own. Years passed, and Gene grew up. He became an artist and moved back into the family home with his wife. Robert, now a relic of his childhood, was placed in the attic. But the strange occurrences didn't stop. Guests reported hearing footsteps in the attic, even when no one was up there. Some claimed to see Robert's face peering out of the attic window, his expression menacing. Even Gene's wife felt an unnatural presence whenever she was near the doll. When Gene passed away in 1974, the house was sold, and Robert was left behind. The new owners were quick to discover that the doll was no ordinary toy. Their daughter, just like Gene, became obsessed with Robert. She claimed he moved around the house and whispered to her at night. Terrified, the family donated Robert to the Fort East Martello Museum, where he remains to this day. But Robert's story doesn't end there. Visitors to the museum often report feeling uneasy in his presence. Some say their cameras malfunction when they try to take his picture. Others claim to hear faint laughter or feel a cold breeze when standing near his glass case. Many believe that Robert is still alive in some way, his spirit tethered to the doll. One of the most chilling aspects of Robert's legend is the tradition of asking his permission before taking his photograph. Visitors who fail to do so often blame Robert for their misfortunes, lost luggage, car troubles, or even illness. Some even write letters to the museum, apologizing to Robert and begging for forgiveness. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, there's no denying that Robert the doll has a presence that's hard to ignore. His story is a reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved. So, if you ever find yourself in Key West, pay a visit to Robert. But remember to ask nicely before taking his picture. You wouldn't want to upset him.